Right, can people actually hear me without a microphone? Yes. Perfect. So I've got a confession I'm going to make today, which is that I'm not actually going to be arguing in defence of Rowan Atkinson. I'm instead going to be arguing in defence of my friend Nick Dixon. Because I agree with him that he's the second best comedian of all time. And I thought it'd be quite amusing for him to have to argue against himself. Except I would have done that, but then I thought actually maybe Keir Starmer would be the funniest comedian of all time. See? While some of you are thinking about Trump, for instance, who wants to build a wall and get Mexico to pay for it, Keir Starmer decides to sell off our islands, bring in their asylum seekers, and then get us to pay for it. But despite all of that, I actually am going to be arguing for Rowan Atkinson. And I've got 3 arguments for why I think that's the case. So the first one is that I think he has the best range of comedy here. We've heard already from some of the panellists about how it's important to have a range of comedic styles. But is there really any greater diversity in a comedic style than Blackadder on one hand and Mr. Bean on the other? See, this is someone who clearly has a mastery of all of the types of comedy. From, let's a good example, his stand-up is hilarious, where he plays everything from Toby the Devil. Some of you might have heard the Jews were right. While simultaneously also playing, inebriated Indian housekeepers and restaurateurs. Moreover, the other thing about Rowan Atkinson, which I really appreciate, is the subtlety of his performance. It's not just simply that he has good dialogue and wit, but he can make very minor things funny. We've heard from some of the panellists, they repeat some of the lines and they're very funny. I repeat some of the lines, they're less funny. But that's because Rowan Atkinson, it's his articulation, his performance, which also makes it so great, right? Just the ability to say Bob and make people laugh. There you go. So that is the first reason why I think Rowan Atkinson is great. And you can also see this, by the way, when he actually performs a sketch with John Cleese, because they get John Cleese to be the straight man. So they realise that when it comes to whoever's the better comedian and who can actually get the laughs, unfortunately, it's Rowan Atkinson. So the second reason, and I think this is even more important, which is that Rowan Atkinson actually defends the virtues and values of what comedy is meant to represent. Because what is comedy meant to be? It's meant to be a way to satirise society, to speak truth to power, to undermine and criticise things which you can't say in other ways. And that's why censors go for the comedians first, because when you laugh, you can't help it. You laugh because it's true. And in this climate of free speech, there is no one who has been a more ardent and better defender of free speech than Rowan Atkinson. All the way back in 2005, he's been leading organisations which have been fighting against blasphemy laws, general censorship, and he's been doing so in a very effective way. If you type free speech into YouTube and you sort it by view count, 2 of the top 5 videos are speeches by Rowan Atkinson defending the importance of free expression and free speech. So when it comes to maintaining that social role of the court jester from which most of our classical tradition comes from, there is no one better than Rowan Atkinson. And also he does it proactively, right? It's not like when the cancel mob comes for John Cleese because he says something dodgy on Twitter. Rowan Atkinson's been doing it because he actually believes in the values and the principles. It's not just reactive. And then my third and final key reason for why I believe Rowan Atkinson is really important is because I'm not a comedian. I'm like you guys, I'm just a member of the public. And comedy, I think as we can mostly agree, is subjective. There is no objective preference of what's better in comedy. So let's go and see what the public think is the best type of comedy. So again, I searched up view ratings of different comedians. And with Louis C.K., you're on about 19 million for their best watched video. For some of the other comedians, like John Cleese, you're on about 27 million, 24 if you discount the other Pythons. Then with Norm Macdonald, you do actually get a bit of a jump. You get to about 42 million, so again, that's pretty good. Then when you search Rowan Atkinson, you get 120 million for the first one, 119 million for the second, and 118 million for the third. So Rowan Atkinson, in terms of his comedy actually penetrating and people liking it, is 3 times more popular than any of the other comedians here. So Rowan Atkinson is not just the funniest comedian in terms of people actually liking his comedy. He's the best when it comes to defending the social values and leveraging his reputation as a comedian to defending what comedians should do. And on top of that, he's able to master all of the genres of comedy, not just sort of pretend like, oh, you can do sitcoms and stand-up, which is fairly similar. He can do physical comedy, but both like big bits as Mr. Bean. He can do little quivers with his eyes as Blackadder, and he can do the verbal parts too. So thank you, and I hope to stay in this balloon as the non-comedian.